I want you to just, for a second, think about the magic circle.
Hmm.
In game design, it's that invisible line
Yeah.
that separates the game from, well, the real world.
Right. It's a very clean, very safe division.
And usually, that circle is defined by hardware,
Hmm.
a frame, the edge of your TV, the bezel of your phone, the plastic on a Game Boy. Inside is fantasy, outside is reality.
We've relied on it for, 70 years now? It tells us where the play starts and where it stops.
But what happens when you just shatter that frame? What if the game spills out of the box and starts, I don't know, crawling up your living room walls or wraps itself around a skyscraper?
And we're not just talking about bigger screens here. This is something else entirely.
Exactly. Today we're talking about video game mapping.
Or video mapping, to use the specific term from the research we're looking at today.
We are digging into this really fascinating paper by Quentin Alvarez from 2019. And the mission for this deep dive is, well, it's a bit philosophical, but also super technical. We're going to trace the history of games trying to escape the monitor, look at the really strict rules that define this medium, and ultimately answer a question the research poses. Does the machine define the experience?
Which, it sounds abstract, but it's actually, at the root of this huge conflict in how we interact with technology. Are we just looking at computers, or are we starting to live inside them?
Before we get to the whole living inside part, which gets pretty wild, we have to establish the status quo, what Alvarez calls the standard model.
Right. The standard model is, it's the tyranny of the screen. I mean, historically, if you wanted to define what a video game was, you pointed at the output device.
The CRT tube, an LCD panel.
The pixel grid, yeah. And the thinking was, if it's not on a screen, is it? Is it really a video game?
And there's some serious historical baggage there. I honestly didn't realize how contentious the whole first video game debate was until I read this.
Oh, it's a debate that never really ends. You've got OXO, which was basically a tic-tac-toe game from the early 50s.
Seems like a video game to me.
To a normal person, yes. But the purists say no. And why? Because it used an oscilloscope display. It wasn't a raster scan monitor, a TV screen.
So they say you have to wait.
They argue you have to wait until 1962 for Space War, just because of the glass tube it was displayed on.
That feels incredibly pedantic. It's like saying a novel is a novel if it's on a scroll instead of in a book.
It is pedantic, but it shows how deeply the hardware is baked into the identity of the medium. Even the patents show this. Back in the late 40s, Goldsmith Jr. and Mann filed a patent for the cathode ray tube amusement device, a missile game.
And the name says it all, right? Cathode ray tube. The screen was the entire point.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, no prototype's ever been found. We don't even know if they built it. But the patent, sort of.
Yeah.
It locked in this idea. The game exists on the tube.
So for decades, we're stuck in the box.
Yeah.
But the research points to this missing link, a device from the late 80s that tried to break out, the mega projector video game.
This is a deep cut. It was an Italian console, sometimes called Light Games, 1988. And what made it so special was that it completely abandoned the TV.
No TV at all.
None. It used these little LCDs and slides inside the console with a magnifying lens and a light bulb to project the game right onto your wall.
So it was like a primitive home cinema projector, but just for games.
Kind of, yeah. It made an image about 85 centimeters wide. For 1988, that was huge. You gotta remember, TVs were small then. This was a real attempt to break that size limit. But, and here's the key thing, Alvarez points out that while this was projection, it wasn't mapping.
Okay, let's drill down on that. Because when I hear mapping, my mind goes to texture mapping and 3D design.
Yeah.
Wrapping a skin on a character.
A totally different concept. Yeah. In this context, video game mapping needs 3 very specific things. And Alvarez is super strict about this. If you don't hit all 3, you're not in the club.
All right, lay them out. What's rule number 1?
Video projection. The image has to come from a projector, a beamer. So that immediately disqualifies TVs, tablets, phones. The light has to be extrinsic. It has to, travel through the air to hit the surface.
Okay. Makes sense. Rule 2.
It has to be illusionist. Now, this is the tricky one. It's not enough to just shine a square picture on a flat wall. That's just a movie screen.
Right.
True mapping uses the physical features of the surface. It plays with the geometry.
So if I project a game onto a building, the game has to know where the windows are, that kind of thing.
Precisely. It often uses this technique called anamorphosis. It creates a distorted image that only looks 3D or correct from one specific spot. The projection has to blend with reality so well that the object itself becomes the game.
So the mega projector failed this test.
Big time. It just threw a flat rectangle on the wall. No illusion. It was just treating the wall like a big dumb screen.
And the third rule.
It has to be interactive. It's
Yeah.
got to be a game. You have to be able to influence the system.
Okay, this seems like it would rule out, what, like 99% of the projection mapping we see at festivals?
It does. I mean, think of those light shows on the Disney Castle or that Blizzard launch event in London in 2015. Amazing visuals,
Yeah.
right? Buildings crumbling and rebuilding.
Yeah, incredible stuff.
But nobody was playing it. It's passive. So according to Alvarez, that's not video game mapping. It's just video mapping.
So it's a high bar. Projector, optical illusion, and a gameplay loop.
It is. And you'd be surprised how many things that seem innovative just don't make the cut. Like Safari on Balloon from 2014. It used a tablet and a little paper hot air balloon.
Oh, that's augmented reality.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
no projector. So it's out.
So let's look at what does pass the test. The research takes us indoors first, to the arcade in the living room. And there's a kind of controversial entry right away. Sega Hologram Time Traveler.
1991. Yeah, if you were in an arcade back then, you remember this thing? It looked like a little cowboy or sci-fi guy standing on a black stage, like a free-floating hologram.
I remember trying to grab the little figures. My hand just went straight through it.
That's the old Pepper's Ghost effect. It's a theater trick with angled glass and mirrors. The image was actually coming from a curved monitor hidden down in the cabinet.
So, hang on. If the image is coming from a monitor, doesn't that break rule number 1? Must use a projector.
That's the debate, yeah. Some people argue the mirror system acts as a projection path. Others say it's just a reflection. But because the image appeared to be in the physical space, the stage, it gets a pass as a kind of proto-mapping experience.
Okay, a bit of a gray area.
A huge gray area. For the real deal, we have to jump forward to Microsoft in 2013.
Luma Room. I remember the concept videos for this. They were
Mhm.
absolutely mind-blowing.
Microsoft Research really went for it here. The idea was to combine your TV with a wide-angle projector. So you're playing a shooter on the TV, but the recoil, the smoke, the debris from an explosion, all of that gets projected onto your bookshelves, your coffee table.
It turns your whole living room into the game's peripheral vision.
And they took it even further in 2014 with Room Alive. They got rid of the TV entirely. They put multiple projectors on the ceiling, cameras to track you. You could have little creatures running along your floorboards, and you could literally stomp on them.
It sounds like the holodeck. So why am I not playing this in my house right now? Why did it just vanish?
Well, a couple reasons. First, the setup. Calibrating like 6 projectors in your living room is a nightmare compared to just buying a bigger TV.
Fair point.
Second, VR Oculus was just taking off at the exact same time. And, it's a lot cheaper to put the projection on your face than it is to project it onto your whole house.
That makes sense.
Oh, well.
Although I find VR so isolating. Room Alive sounds like it was communal.
That is the key loss, you're right. Matting is inherently social. Everyone in the room sees the same illusion. VR is solitary. But while the living room idea kind of stalled, the tech found a home in art and in serious games.
Serious games, meaning like for education or training.
Or exercise. The research points to this amazing Finnish system called augmented climbing.
Oh, is this the one where you play ping pong on the climbing wall?
Climb wall, yeah. Imagine a climbing wall, right? Now project a pong ball onto it. You and a friend are hanging off the wall, and you have to physically climb up and down to use your bodies as the paddles.
That sounds absolutely exhausting.
It's exergaming at its peak. The projector tracked your movement. They have another mode, Sparks, where these lines of projected electricity move across the wall, and you have to climb around them.
Wow.
And if you touch a line, you get buzzed well, you lose points anyway.
This fits all 3 criteria perfectly. It has the projector, the illusion, because the game lines up with the handholds. And it's definitely interactive.
It totally changes your relationship with the surface. The wall isn't just a piece of gym equipment anymore. It's a
Yeah.
dynamic interface. Or look at Pieces of Peace in Lille, France.
That was the statue project, wasn't it?
Yeah. They took a real physical statue packs by Edgar-Henri Boutry, and people use their smartphones to color in the statue with projected light.
That's a great idea.
It turns cultural heritage into a playground. Interactive, respects the geometry, uses projection. Perfect example.
But there's a challenger on the horizon, isn't there?
Yeah.
We said rule number 1 is use a projector. But hardware moves fast. What happens when the surface itself just becomes the screen?
And this is where Alvarez says we're hitting a technological lock. The definition is trapped by the hardware of, 2010.
You're talking about LEDs.
Specifically, LED floors and walls. Take Nike Rise, that you probably don't. And that's the friction the research is pointing to. We're moving from projection to active surfaces, and the tech world is just moving faster than the academic definitions can keep up. But before we totally throw out the definition, we have to look at the one place where projectors are still king: the city.
Outdoor mapping. This is the stuff that always goes viral.
It is, but you have to be careful. There's a lot of, let's say, fake mapping out there.
Fake mapping, how so?
Well, take Tetris. Everyone wants to play Tetris on a skyscraper, right? We've seen it at Brown University, the MIT Green Building. But usually that's just them hacking the building's lighting system.
So they're just turning the window lights on and off.
Exactly. It's just very low-res pixel art. It doesn't use the architecture. Or Espacio Tetris in Mexico. They projected the game onto a mall, but it was just a flat projection. The blocks didn't interact with the building's shape at all, just a big movie screen.
So for it to be real mapping, the Tetris blocks would need to, what, like bounce off the window ledges or something?
Yes, exactly. And there are projects that do this. The Pac-Man project in Jerusalem is a great example. They didn't just project a maze. They scanned the building and made the architectural lines, the window frames, the columns. They made those the actual walls of the maze. Pac-Man was trapped by the building itself.
Now that's the illusionist criteria kicking in.
And my personal favorite is Snake the Planet. You know the old Nokia game?
Of course. Eat the dot, get longer, don't hit your tail.
They brought that to city buildings using this tech called MPU Urban Cannabis. And what's so brilliant is the adaptability. The system scans the building in real time, and it generates the level based on the windows and doors it sees.
So every single building creates a unique level automatically.
Yes. But then they added another layer. The camera also scans the people on the sidewalk. So if you stand in front of the building, your silhouette gets projected into the game. You become an obstacle.
The audience isn't just watching. They become the terrain.
Exactly. It completely blurs the line between player, spectator, and screen. Or you look at Sciences Po in France. They projected this huge avatar on a university building, and the whole crowd, dozens of people, used their phones to vote on where the avatar should go.
That turns the architecture into a town hall meeting.
It's the Agora concept. The game becomes a public event. And we can't forget RGB racers by Play Foul.
Is that the driving one?
Yes, 3 players holding actual physical steering wheels, controlling these little spaceships projected on the wall. It's like they dragged an arcade cabinet out into the street, but the cabinet is a 3-story building.
It sounds chaotic and wonderful.
Yeah.
But this brings us right back to that tension, right? The projector versus the screen. Nike Rise versus Snake the Planet.
This is the philosophical conclusion of the paper. We started by saying video game mapping requires a projector, but Alvarez argues that this distinction is...
well, it's fading.
Because screens are becoming flexible, transparent, massive. We're heading into an era of display everywhere. If you can cover a building in a flexible OLED skin and you play Snake on it, how is the experience any different from projecting Snake onto it?
Functionally, it's not. The player's doing the exact same thing.
And Alvarez suggests that the photon source, whether it's reflected light from a projector or emitted light from an LED, is becoming irrelevant to the definition. We're seeing a convergence.
It's space war versus OXO all over again. We're obsessing over the machine while the players just care about the game.
Precisely. The technological lock is breaking. The ultimate goal of all of these projects, from that 1988 mega projector to the Nike LED court, it's all the same. It's about removing the frame, making the environment into the interface.
It's a move away from the magic circle being this separate place over there to the magic circle being, well, potentially everywhere.
And that is a really profound shift. When the screen disappears, the entire world becomes a potential playground.
That is a thrilling, and maybe slightly dystopian thought to end on. If the line between wall and screen just dissolves, if every surface in a city can be activated.
Then we're all walking through a dormant arcade every single day.
Yeah, imagine your commute. The sidewalk, the side of a bus, the statue in the park. Right now, they're just matter. But in this future, they're just waiting for a signal to wake up and become a game.
It completely redefines public space. Is a wall a boundary? Or is it a canvas for interaction? That's really the question that mapping asks all of us.
I think I'm ready to play Tetris on my office building. But until then, I'll stick to my rectangle. Thanks for guiding us through the illusion today.
Always a pleasure.
And to you listening, take a look at the wall across from you. It looks solid now, but give it a few years. It might just be the next level. See you in the next deep dive.